All right. And tonight we have with us the coach of the Thailand men's national team. Well, we're about to find out if he's still coaching them or if their national association for basketball has contacted him or whatnot, what the status is. Coach, good to have you here. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you. And Brian, good to see you as well. So I just want to say thank you very much.
And my co-host is veteran sports scribe Brian Yalung. Brian, how are you?
Yeah, thanks, Vince. Thanks, Coach. It's nice to see you again, and please be nice. I'm begging you to be nice.
All the other stuff we talked about past guests are before the show.
All right.
Now let's talk about real basketball.
Thank
All
God.
right. Go ahead.
You know, I've started only I started only last May, Coach, and I'd like to, I last a very long time doing this. So I'd like to do this for a very long time. So anyway, Coach, what's going on with Thailand?
Well, they just there's been a lot of lockdowns, and they just opened up a lot of things now, and they're just started practicing for a short local league. So that'll last probably for a month. I see on Facebook that they just started practicing, and a couple players contacted me to ask about practice and things like that. We had some small talk, but so the lockdowns are starting to lift. Hopefully they continue to lift and things open up and things get back to normal. But as far as basketball is concerned, they're just running right now. They're just running a local league.
And before the pandemic started, I'm curious, how did you get hold of Tyler Lamb?
I speak to Tyler about once every couple of days. Tyler and I touch base, but it's no different than I touch base with, Jason Brinkman or Xavier Alexander. John Fields pretty much calls me every other day from Japan. So a lot of my former players, they either message or call, what have you heard? How are you doing? Things like that. Tyler's a little frustrated that he's sitting at home right now. He sees a lot of players getting signed in the Taiwan League. And so we talk about that, how to get him a push to get over there. We talk about what's going on in Thailand. So I pretty much talk to Tyler about every couple of days.
And Coach, I'm pretty sure you're looking at other possible Thai Americans playing in the U.S. And are there a lot? And are there any limitations or restrictions to you getting these guys?
Well, before I left Thailand, I gave them a list. I've been home for about 3 months. So about 3 months ago, I gave them a list of players with Thailand connections through, parents or grandparents, or players that had a Thailand passport that were playing overseas or playing in the United States in college. I gave them that list and I told them, you have to stay in contact with these people. Justin Bassey's one, Trey Holder's another, Moses Morgan's another. I said, for your international competitions, you have to stay in contact with these people. You have to make sure all their paperwork is done. And that's where I left it. So they have lists of players, but that's where it's at.
But you know that over here in the Philippines, our national teams have been coached by countless number of Americans. So are there any similarities between Philippine basketball and Thai basketball, even though you just started out with them, or you've been with them for quite some time already?
I get asked all the time. You see on Facebook or social media, people say, "Oh, I teach the Euro style of game," and that's like a big buzzword now, the Euro style. And I don't believe in that. I think that's just a selling point coaches or people use to try to make themselves feel bigger and better than what's really going on. Basketball is basketball. You can have a swing offense. You can have the triangle offense. You can have a read and react offense. Yeah, that's separate. But these quote unquote buzzwords of Euro style or, something else, I don't believe that, because you're only as good as your players on the floor. And you can't take a player that's used to doing one thing or that can excel in one thing and try to take that round peg and put them in a square hole because it's the Euro style, then you fail. But people use them, and obviously general managers or team owners fall for that stuff, and then they hire these people, and then they lose games after a couple of years, and then they get fired or move along. So I tell people all the time, and I tell young coaches, you can have what you want to do, which the product you want to put on the floor, the philosophy that you have, but also you have to bend to go to your players' strengths. You got to play to your players' strengths and work on your weaknesses. And so it's really just not a style of play. I don't believe that. I think that's fake and just a sales job. Sorry.
And then that's all right, Coach. You did the young big man from Thailand. I noticed on social media you seem to have taken him under your wing, and he was signed up by a club in Taiwan. I see this kid, and he needs some development physically. What advice have you given him? How have you guided him throughout his young career?
Well, I've been there with him for 4 years. So we've been together 4 years and won many championships and many games. The biggest thing is with him is he's a hardworking kid and a good kid. Overall strength, you just mentioned it. He needs to work on his overall strength. Our weight room at High Tech is very small. It's really no bigger than this room. That's something that they have not, the Thailand basketball has not really dove into and really accepted as a necessity to move on to another level is weight room work. It just hasn't, bigger, faster, stronger due to weight room just has not really clicked or been accepted there. And that's something that he needs to really get going on. Certainly the lockdowns have not helped, because if he was at a gym, everything has been closed. So he hasn't, then he's sitting at home doing push-ups and sit-ups and things like that. But when the lockdown ends, or even before the lockdown, weight room is very, very, very important. And I have seen in my 4 years there, the country as a whole just has not accepted that yet. A lot of stretching, a lot of box jumping, but not a real heavy duty weight room work. And that just hasn't evolved yet there.
You've been around the game, Coach, for a very long time. I want to ask you this: what's your best coaching job in your whole career?
Oh, I don't know. My days in the CBA, the Continental Basketball Association, before it became the G League, probably was my most happiest time, because I really loved it. I had a great owner, a great venue. I had a lot of hardworking players. I was there for 4 years before my owner died of cancer. I fielded a lot of calls from the NBA. I went to a lot of NBA stuff because it was a working relationship, much like the G League now. I think looking back upon my time, that was probably my happiest. But each chapter, I've had each chapter throughout the years. Like when I was a college coach, we had a team that never ever won. I got hired. After 3 years, we went to the Final Four. So you would think, like, there's some coaches in college that never been to the Final Four. So they'd say, "Oh, that's a great achievement." Yeah, but when that chapter closed, I never, I was hungry for another challenge. So then I went to the CBA, and I had great success there in Rockford. It was right up the road. I loved it there. And then when he died of cancer and the team folded, People say, "Oh, you're right there on the NBA cusp. You should have been so happy." Yeah, but that closed, and now it's on for another adventure. So in Thailand's another example. We won the silver in the SEA Games. People are like, "Oh, some countries never even get to the SEA Games silver," But for me, it's just like, okay, success here. Let's move on to another one. That's kind of where I stand. So that in a long-winded roundabout answer, that's where I'm at.
All right, Brian.
Okay, Coach. I just want to ask, aside from China Trip, are there any players you see from Thailand who could possibly play well in Taiwan or in maybe even in Japan? Aside from him, the locally bred.
Oh yeah,
Players.
well for sure. Everybody needs size,
Mhm.
and Om is probably our biggest and best center in Thailand. So that's an easy choice, and he did well, in the FIBA situations, and he won the silver, and he's still young, so that was an easy choice. But there's other players, depending on what the team needs in Taiwan. Do they need a true point guard? You might want to look at Thailand for that. You need a pure shooter. You may look at Thailand for that. It depends on what the team needs are. But, there's a lot of quality players there in Thailand. You saw it before when we played in the Philippines. You saw it before. Thailand just needs to really stay focused on developing their players. And when I left, I told them, I said, you have to develop a lot of these young players. Your older players, even though they've been part of your system for 5, 6, 10 years, they'll never be able to, their ceiling is over. Their time is done. And you may have, you can't always think with your heart when it comes to players. You got to let some of these players go and bring in younger players and develop some of these younger players with them. And sometimes that's hard for some management to do because they're, we have a family type atmosphere and this player's been with us for so long. Yeah, but it's show business, not show friendship. That's really what it is. And so I think that's a big thing with Thailand that I've had in the conversations with them is you have to start developing certainly more bigs. You can't look at Om now as your only big, in the country. There's got to be more 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" players. You have to start working with those and developing those players. And it's just not, oh, we're going to play zone and we're going to play a little bit of practice and we're going to do some stretching and then call it a day. No, you got to get to work, and that's going to upset some people. But the goal is to win games and become better basketball players. And, and that's always been a constant conversation in Thailand,
Well, I've asked a lot of people about their take on this. The players like here in the Philippines, they're moving to Japan or some other country. Well, how do you see this, Coach? Do you see this as a positive development, or is it bad for the country that like countries like Japan are getting these talented players with bigger pay?
I think it's great. I think it's good. And the reason I think it's good is a couple reasons. One, you should never step in the way of letting a player go spread his wings and try new things. This is his life. This is his passion. And if he wants to go, you encourage those behaviors with the understanding that if things don't work out, you want to come back, we'd love to have you back. We're not going to hold it against you. That's the first thing. Second thing, it just helps, showcase what you have in your country, the great basketball you have in your country that other teams in other countries want your players. So there's a pride factor involved. Also, it allows you then to bring up other players to develop, to take those players' place, thus strengthening your unit. We talked about it, Brian, before, with your Gilas program. And I said, this was way back when. Mm-hmm. I said, the more success Gilas has on the international world stage, the more players could leave. And if the more players leave, because now they're you can see the games on the internet. Before you never used to have all that. Yeah. You'd have to go to the games and maybe see. Now you can watch and rewatch games all the time. You're going to lose players. And if you don't have, we talked about it, if you don't have depth, that's one of the things that you have. If you don't have depth, you're going to be in trouble, because you lose 2 players and another player gets food poisoning or is out with an injury. You're really stuck. So I like it when players leave to go to other places for the reasons I explained, but also it's a wake up call for your countries or for your teams. Hey man, you got to get developed. You just can't ride on the coattails of all these wins. You got to develop other players.
Yeah.
You got to get to work and develop those players. And it's work, so, that sometimes that's not what people always like to do. They just like to hold up the trophy and get their picture taken from Facebook. But no, man, we got to get back to work. I remember Bill Belichick when he won the Super Bowl he says, yeah, the Super Bowl is great, but now we're 2 weeks behind for going into next year. So we'll see, but that's the way I feel about that.
Well, if it's good for the players, how about the local leagues? I mean, I don't know if Thailand has pro leagues or amateur leagues there, tournaments. What does this say about the leagues that are affected? Well, right now, like in the Philippines, most cannot start because of the pandemic, obviously. So I'm guessing that's one reason why these players are moving over to other countries that have resumed play. So how do you think this will impact the local scene leagues?
Well, players could leave because of the pandemic, but also a true competitor, a true player, a true champion with heart, they want to go compete against others. I've already done my thing here, on this league and in this country. Let me go give this country 40 points a game or 30 points a game, or really showcase my talent to a whole nother populace of people. So that could also come into play. Certainly monies can come into play. Who's going to pay more money? I understand it's a business, who's going to pay more money. But going back to your original point of what does it mean for your local leagues? Hey man, go develop your players. That's all right. This player's leaving. This guy now gets it. He's been working his butt off. Now it's his time to shine. But if you haven't done that, if you rested on your laurels and you're like, oh, I'm the king of the mountain because I have all these players, and they leave you, now you're stuck. Oh, we can't have players leave. No, go to work. Develop your players. Sustain victory, sustain success, add depth to your rosters, but people don't always do that.
Yeah. But Coach, on a different outlook, do you think that because there's a surplus of players here, they're very good. I know a lot of them. There are a lot of surplus players here in the Philippines who are unemployed. Do you think this is a good sign for them, good opportunity for them to try playing again, prove their worth?
Of course. Yes, play. I know there's a lot of players that are out of work there in the Philippines. A lot, because I get contacted, every couple of days on Instagram, especially, players like, hey, what's going on here? Can you help me here? What, you remember me from here? Of course I do, and if it's a player that is, that I like, that's worthy, that shows respect on and off the court, I'm going to try to give that guy a push, or maybe make a phone call for him. I get a lot of players that I think don't fit that criteria, so then I kind of ignore their messages, or I just tell them good luck, because you want to be associated with good people, good players. But yeah, I mean, Ray Park. Here's an example. Ray Parks left. He didn't want to be in the Philippines anymore. Now he's struggling. He's been struggling a little bit. And here's a guy that wanted his money and wanted to showcase, in another country. So go ahead and go do that. And if things don't work out, Ray, you're welcome to come back here. That's my feeling.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Coach. Vince, back to you first.
Coach, you mentioned you were after your CBA team folded, people were telling you're in the cusp of an NBA coaching job or at least an assistant coach. Did you ever get an opportunity?
Yeah, I did. To be honest with you, when Rockford was going, when the CBA was going, I was extremely happy. The place where I worked was right up the road where I lived. My family was close by. My friends were all there. I really had no true aspirations to go leave that. Teams had called me, NBA teams had called, and I never really pursued it. Here's an example, like Dave Yeager. He coached Memphis Grizzlies.
Yes.
He's an assistant in Philadelphia now. Dave and I coached against each other in the CBA for many years. We've played in the finals. He was Dakota Wizards. His goal and his aspirations, NBA. That's all. He made connections with the right agents. He pressed every right button. His goal. Me, I was very comfortable right where I was. And now looking back, I was an idiot, because I should have been doing along the same routes. I wouldn't be here right now if I was, if I did that. But that was his goals. For me at the time, I was very happy. And I could have stayed at Rockford forever until, cancer hit. And then, we closed our doors. And then all of a sudden, a mad scramble happened in my life. Like, what's going to happen from here? And it's been a roller coaster since then. But I had people contact me, Atlanta Hawks, the Bulls, they made Cleveland. We would go talk at summer leagues, or we would go talk to come on in. And then when the G League started, the CBO was starting to go away, but I stayed. I went up to Minot for 2 years, and by that time, I just became frustrated and upset, and I just said I'm done for a while. And then I left, and I wanted to raise my kids. I had a choice: be away from home. My kids were little, and I never saw them or did anything, or leave basketball and take care of them. So that's what I did. And then it's been a merry-go-round ever since. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, absolutely. I was right on that cusp, but I really didn't pursue it aggressively because, I was happy where I was.
But if an opportunity came on right now, you would take it in a heartbeat.
I've been sitting at home for 3 months. I take an opportunity anywhere. I might go this afternoon down to McDonald's and fill out an application but basketball opportunities, absolutely. I have a lot of basketball to give, and my success and my team's success speak for itself. So timing is a big issue, but yeah, I would leave in a New York second. I did talk to some clubs in the past about coming and working on their defenses and their G League system. It just didn't work out due to various reasons. So, but as I sit here right now, absolutely, any opportunity that comes down the pike, I'd be interested. I'm ready to get going again. Absolutely, yes.
How about any offers from Europe, Coach? Ever gotten any offers from Europe?
I haven't recently. Over my years, I had, but I haven't recently. Once you're in their region, Thailand's in their region, Philippines, they kind of consider you to be, that region's type coach. So it's hard to make that jump from that to, to a European. And just for a European, sometimes to make the jump on into the Asia market. So, like I said, I send my stuff, to the region, Japan, Taiwan, Philippines, seeing Indonesia, see who's going to bite, and so far I'm nothing.
I want to.
Terrible subject. Thanks for bringing it in.
Coach, I want to get your thoughts on, because you used to coach in the NCAA in D1. What are your thoughts on student athletes finally getting paid?
I understand, the big thing, but I listen, if behind the scenes, if you knew what goes on with players getting different grant money and different monies and things like that, I don't believe the stories that are portrayed by people who don't know the ins and outs of it, that guys don't have enough food to eat and they're going from room to room to go find food. That really is not the case. There's food everywhere, catered to the best of everything. Nobody is for want. I don't believe that, but I can understand the t-shirt sales and the jersey sales. Okay. But player salaries. Now, both my kids played. My daughter played softball in college. My son played baseball in college. But I had to work my butt off to make sure they got all their things taken care of, you know. But if you got a scholarship to go to the University of Michigan to go play basketball, trust me, there's nothing in your life that you have a want or need for. Everything is taken care of. So if players want to gain a salary, I don't necessarily believe that there's a need for that.
And
there's a lot that goes on
yeah,
behind the scenes that people get taken care of.
and I know you know about this, that there was an overtime league organized or established for high school players to receive 6-figure, 7-figure salaries. What are your thoughts on this?
You know, it's easy. Everybody wants to start a league, or it's easy to start a league, but it takes money. You guys know that. You know, it takes money. If you don't have an owner that has money or deep pockets, that's able to invest and lose money to get started, you have to hire staffs to get sponsorships, and you know, there's a lot of cost involved. It's easy to say, oh, I can get a center, a guard, a forward, but it's really hard to work within the framework of a budget to get your travel done and get your venue done and get your agreements with sponsors done. And that's people just don't understand that. You know, in my time in Rockford, in between baseball, I ran a minor league baseball team. I was general manager of a minor league baseball team, and that's all it is. It's not the players; it's the business side of it, and people just don't understand that. And when they try to, Lonzo Ball tried to start his own league and this, that, and everything else, it takes years, you know, to build all that stuff up. And you knew it was going to fail because money's going out. There's just no money coming in. It's money. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. And it's silly for people to believe all that stuff, but they do. And if you say it's bad, you're a bad guy, you know, you get shouted down, and you know, people don't believe you. And then at the end, it takes a year or 2 years, and they say, oh, you were right, or they don't agree, you know. So yeah, those things don't take. It takes money. It takes money. It takes money.
Your players on the Thai national team, are you helping them play somewhere else, play overseas? Are you in some way assisting them? For your guys who want to play overseas, who are willing to do that?
Well, the players that are Thai, they're pretty much staying there in Thailand. You know, if like when Taiwan called me about home, I wasn't directly involved in that, but they did call me and ask me about it. I've had a lot of people, a lot of Taiwan teams call me and ask about him because he's a big body. And then I gave him my recommendation. I talked to him, you know, he was still in school though, so I didn't think he was going to take any of these because he's still at school. And school's big, you know, with him. But the other players, if another team called me, I gladly give them a recommendation or my thoughts on that player. The other players that play for me, such as Xavier Alexander or Tyler Lamb, you know, I'll gladly give them a push because I won championships with them. So that's all part of the process. If it's a player that played for me that was a complete idiot, no, I'm not pushing that player because I'm not putting my name on the line for a guy that was a clown. But if a guy's been a good guy, professional guy, won championships with me, absolutely, I help him every way I can. I mean, this is life. This is our passion. You know, it's players, it's practice, it's games, it's behind the scenes, it's everything. And you know, you spend 30 years of your life doing it. You know, it's waking up in the morning and doing basketball. You know, so that's just the way I feel. Absolutely.
And in your stay in Thailand, have you been given complete freedom, or were you at first? Did you have coaching principles that clashed with, I don't know, with their values? Anything like that happen?
No, it wasn't necessarily values. It's just it was disagreements. We had some disagreements over players. You know, I didn't like a certain player, or this player didn't fit with what I wanted to do, where I thought this player could have. I feel any coach that goes overseas, I tell them all the time when they call me and ask me, you have to bend. You have to overly communicate and you have to bend. At the end of the day, you have to win your games, but you have to bend. If you go in there like a bull in a china shop and you just run things the way you want to run, it's not going to work out. There's going to be a clash. But you have to be able to bend to what management wants and what you want and try to come together. I was there 4 years. We've won 5 championships in 4 years. Won a silver medal with the women's team. There was a lot of bending there. And a silver medal with the men's team in the SEA Games, 2017, 2019. And the reason for a lot of that was I was able, even though management wanted this player, I was able to kind of maneuver this stuff in. There's been disagreements, but with the more wins you get, the more credibility you get. But at the end of the day, management's management. They're going to put on the team who they want to put on the team, and that's something that a lot of people don't understand.
Okay, last question, Coach, before I turn you over to Brian. If there are any two, three Filipino players, let's say the Thai Basketball Association says you can go after 2 or 3 Filipino players who we can naturalize, who would you go after?
Oh, any bigs that you have. Certainly, Kai Soto is obviously, the big name. But he wouldn't even be number 1 on my list because I would rather, for me personally, if Fajardo was healthy, and I could pay and they could take him, if I could have anybody and he was healthy, that's my number 1 pick by far. By far, not even close. The Bulldozer would be another one. That would be an easy choice because they could step right in, and succeed and lead and do their jobs. You're going to work players and the players are going to get in shape and everything else. But, those guys are just head and shoulders above so much, in the region. Those 2 guys immediately come to mind before any guard or anything else. We have guards in Thailand. Stanley Pringle comes to mind as a fantastic player. Fantastic player. But those 2 bigs immediately, if I had my choice, I could win with those 2 guys or one of those 2. That's where I'm at.
All right, Brian.
Okay, Coach. Coach, just a question. Instead of coaching, how come you never tried being a player agent? Because I see that you're trying to do that right now.
Oh no. First of all, I try to help players that have helped me.
Mm-hmm.
They're good guys. It's nothing for me to make a phone call to help somebody out. It's nothing for me to make a Facebook post to help out a player that's helped me win games. That's not really, to me, that's not really a player agent. I don't accept any money for it. I just think it's part of the process. And if the player played well for me, respected the game, respected me, respected his teammates, man, I'll go to bat for that player. So that's all part, for me, that's all part of the job. As far as being a player agent in total, no, I just don't think there's any money in it. I don't really, it doesn't interest me to go out and try to sign guys and then try to tell teams, to take this player. I have found so many owners and so many managers of teams that are overseas. They really just don't understand basketball. They really just don't understand the way I see basketball. Where they see it, yeah, they think they're great, but I see it, maybe I see it differently. Like I have a player that played for me in college. He's 6'3", plays hard. Multiple position defender, rebounds, defends, can shoot the 3. The guy can't get a job. And he calls me, I call people up. I put him in the Indonesia draft and I call teams up and I say, take a, oh no, he's too small. Oh, he doesn't fit this. Oh, he can't. But I'm like, no, this kid can play, and they just see it differently. So that, as far as being an agent, I'd be trying to place guys like that. I would never make any money, but I could take them on my team and I'd win games, but they just don't see it that way. They just don't see it. So I don't think everybody has to be cookie cutter or certain heights, certain weights, certain skill levels in order to be successful, because what I need you to do is different than what this coach needs you to do. So I'm only worried about what I need to do to win games. And as I sent my resume to Vince before, the track record speaks for itself. But a lot of those guys, people don't even want, But for me, oh yeah, I'll take them all day long, and I'll win trophies all day long.
Okay, let me jump into your favorite team. What do you think of the Chicago Bulls this year?
Oh, what an exciting group so far in preseason, right?
Yeah.
It amazes me. They're getting up and down the floor. They're getting up and down the floor. Lonzo Ball is a good point guard. He had that knock. He can't shoot. People are mad at his dad back in the day. But he's a true point guard. He can really, he makes the extra pass. He establishes side of floor early. He pushes the ball up. He does a very nice job. Certainly Zach LaVine has come into his own. I think the Olympic situation really helped grow his game of understanding a role and role acceptance. DeMar DeRozan, there's no need for anything else but his name. It surprises me. I've watched 2 games thus far that teams, and maybe this will happen come regular season, teams have to control the tempo against the Bulls. If you try to get into a track meet with that club, if you try to, long shots, long rebounds against that club, you're going to have problems because they get going, they get up and down the floor. So you really have to have good tempo, good ball control in order to play the Bulls. If you get in a track meet with them, you're in trouble.
So do you see anything missing from these new groups of players?
Yeah, they need a legitimate big, because the team's going to come through, they're a guy from Miami. He's a pick and pop center. He's a good player, fantastic player. The European guy, I can't mention his name off the top of my head, but fantastic player. But if you get a real low post presence down there where a team's going to dump it down, they're going to need somebody on that bench that's really going to have to control that for a period of time throughout the game. And I'm talking about playoff time, not during the regular season, but come playoff time. If they come across a team for matchup situations and they dump it down there, they're going to need somebody that's going to help down there. If they don't, everybody's just a bunch of thoroughbreds getting up and down. Sky's the limit for them. But if you get somebody that's going to be able to dump it and control that paint, then that's where there's a weakness, I think.
I think the European player you're referring to is Nikola Vucevic.
Yeah. See, your pronouncement is better than mine. I would have butchered it. But he's a fantastic player, though. I mean, good player, double guy, real good player. But I just think you need a little bit more. Like I said, if you come across he's a great drag player, pick and pop player, spread the floor player. But if you got somebody that's going down there in the post and doing some beastie work down there, going to work, he's going to need some help. And I think that's another piece of the puzzle that might have to be addressed by them.
So how far do you see? I mean, on paper, how far do you think they have what it takes to reach the playoffs this season?
Yes. Playoffs, yes. Advancement beyond that, I don't know. We're going to have to see what happens to your other clubs, but playoffs, yes. Isn't it something all these years during the Gar Form and John Paxson time, they've done nothing. Mm-hmm. And now here they've made a quick, they made a regime change, coaching change. Now look at all the changes that are going on and successes on the floor. Isn't that crazy, right? Mm-hmm. So what does that say for this GM, this assistant GM, and Billy Donovan as a coach? They're out to win games. Where Gar Forman and those guys, God bless them, but they're collecting checks, man. Just collecting checks. And I tell people all the time, I think it's wins and losses is how you're judged. Not by being a good guy or not making nice you're friends with the owner and things like that. But I feel in basketball, it's wins and losses. How are you judged with wins and losses?
Coach, they're in Chicago. How strict are they when it comes to vaccinations?
Well, our country is divided on vaccination, unvaccination. So things are loosening up. A lot of it's just state by state. Some states, you're still in masks. Kids are in masks. Other states have been wide open since this whole thing got started. So that's kind of where our country's at. It's not like, in Thailand or maybe in your country, the government says, hey, curfew, masks, everybody do it. Here, it's kind of like this state's doing one thing, state of Florida is doing another thing, state of Texas is doing something else, Illinois is doing something else. So that's kind of what's going on here. So it depends on what side you're looking at. Some people don't want to get vaccinated. So now they're pushing hard. They're pushing people. You're going to lose your job unless you get vaccinated.
Yeah,
I have my own personal feelings about all this, so I won't share them because you might get mad at me. But it's just it's crazy to me.
The only reason why I'm asking that, Coach, is because I know you've heard about the Kyrie Irving situation right now. I mean, even before it was Andrew Wiggins. I'm just wondering if that's going to be a problem also for the Bulls this coming season.
I think the Bulls, there's only been a handful of guys that haven't been vaccinated. So it's only been a problem. Kyrie Irving, now they just came out a ruling that he can practice. Oh, magically he can practice now. It's just, it turned into such a political thing, here in the United States. I can't comment on other countries.
Yeah.
Years has turned into such a political football, vaccinated, unvaccinated. You can get vaccinated, but still get it and give it, pushing people to get vaccinated, even though they don't want it. People that had COVID and have the antibodies, now they still have to get vaccinated. All these things are coming up into play. And I just think people should have their own personal choices. That's me. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you want to face the consequences of your actions, that's up to you. If you want to get it, great. Get it. Yeah, but mandate for people or force people that don't want it, I don't like that. I think there's freedoms here, freedom of choice. And that's what makes this country different than some other countries. But that's just me.
Okay, Coach. I know he hasn't been linked to Chicago, but how would you feel if Ben Simmons would be coming over to join the Bulls?
It's funny because I was on Twitter and somebody from the Philippines said he's getting ready to go to China. Ben Simmons has to go to China, and I thought about it and I messaged him and I said, "There's got to be a team that'll want him," but I'm like, maybe not. But he's a great defender. He's legitimate size. But teams are now getting involved. Their rosters are coming together. There's salary situations. How do you handle that salary?
Yeah.
With the salary cap, all those things come into play now. It's just not a trade for a player anymore. It's salary. It's monies.
Yeah.
It's the business side. So he may be sitting for a while, and I guess they're asking for a lot. And now, Philadelphia's in trouble because they were counting on him, to do different things. So, yeah, he may, but he has millions of dollars. He could probably sit out too. That whole thing when he came in the league is point guard and this, that was all a bunch of hype. It just didn't, people bought into it. It just, that wasn't the case. You're not a very good shooter, right? A 6'7" point guard. Yeah, I understand if you're switching and you're bumping cutters and things of that nature, yeah, it can come on to play. But sooner or later, in a possession by possession game, you need a true point guard to run your stuff, to value your possessions. And he just wasn't that, and Brett Brown, the coach, had struggled with it. They fired him. They're bringing Doc Rivers. He's running into issues now with it too. So I don't think the Bulls are going to go after him. I don't know who is. Probably a team that's on the lower level, but he may be out of basketball, right?
Yeah.
Crazy to think like that.
Well, the last team I heard was the Pacers. The Indiana Pacers are having interest in him.
Oh, really? I don't know.
Yeah.
I saw some report they want a bunch of first rounders and stuff. I don't know if he's the type of player that you want to, give up your future for.
I think they want Caris Levert and Malcolm Brogdon.
Oh yeah,
That's what the Kelly wants.
I don't know. We'll see.
And plus the picks, so it's gonna be a haul.
Yeah, it's a lot. I don't know if it's just, I don't know if it's worth it for all that. It's it really comes down to a lot of it with the salary structure and salary caps.
Yeah.
I remember an agent, Mike Penn, I think was his name. He was an average agent, but he had a real knack for all the numbers, and how to do the numbers. So he got a job in the NBA where his sole purpose was just working with numbers on salary caps and try to finagle things around the salary caps. And he made a career out of it. So that taught me right there that it's just not players. It's all about the salaries.
Okay. Thank you, Coach. Vince, back to you.
Coach, I want to ask, what's your go-to offensive set? For example, you're down by 1, down by 2, you're looking to win the game outright, or you're looking to tie the game. What's your go-to offensive set?
Well, it depends upon I'm a mismatch guy. I like to go after, some guys, and that's another thing we talked about earlier, with certain things. I'm going to run this, I'm going to run this. No, the Bulls with, the triangle offense back in the day of Phil Jackson. Yeah, the triangle offense is great. You're winning all these games. But at the end of the day, you're putting the ball in Michael Jordan's hands. He's getting you a bucket, and he winning that ball game. You can triangle all you want. But at the end of the day, Michael Jordan taking over that basketball. So when the game's on the line, you're going to have to see where your mismatches are at and what your players' strengths are. So you want to get the ball to your go-to guy that you need a bucket. And where does he want it? Does he want it at the elbow? Does he want it on the wing? Does he want it on the block? Does he want, if it's guard, maybe he wants a high screen roll, so all those things come into play, and that's your familiarity with your club. So you're going to test throughout the course of the season, your player, who do you want the ball? And then it's like, well, this player A, we want him to get the ball. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, where's he going to get it? And then the question is, where does he want it? Where are you going to feel most comfortable? You're not going to put him, if he's a low post player and he wants it on the right block, you're not going to sit across screen and put him on the left block. No, you're going to want to put him on the right block. So, okay, so how am I going to get him to this spot? Let's say he wants it at the elbow. He's the elbow guy to go to work at the elbow. Okay, so am I going to set a cross screen? Am I going to set a down screen? Am I going to set a staggered screen? If they switch out on all those, are we going to go a big to big screen? So if they do switch, then he's got a big on him that he can take off the dribble. So all those things come into play, but it just comes with repetition with your team. Are you in the bonus? That's another thing. If you're not in the bonus, you're going to get a quick foul, and then you're going to show that play, and they're going to foul you because they got a foul to give. And now you got to redo it all over again with something else. So that comes into play. If you're in the bonus, depending on the score, hey, we're in the bonus, you want to get fouled, or we need a 3. So how are we going to run the 3? How are we going to run our 3? Then what's your option if they switch on this? Because everybody switches, when it comes down to situations like that. So how are we going to run this player off this? And then what's your secondary movement, for all that? So all those things come into play. But the main thing to answer your question is, who do I want to have the ball in his hands? Where does he want it? Then how do I get him to that spot? Those are your questions that you have to ask yourself. But it's really not a certain play per se.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. Coach, back to the league. The Kevin Love situation. He doesn't want a backup role. Okay, but it's either that or a buyout, which he doesn't want as well. If you were his agent or at one of his advisors, what would you tell him? What would you advise him?
Role definition and role acceptance. Accept your role. but you got to figure these guys are making millions and millions and millions of dollars. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, for us guys down here, we can't even fathom the amount of money that's there. But I'm a big fan of, smile, 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 then get them later. When we get a chance to leave, we're going to leave. Or when we get a chance to get them back, we'll get them back. But accept your role, be a good soldier, help your team. Don't get a bad rap out of this. Those are hard to get off you. It's like a stain. You just can't get rid of that stuff. And then I'm going to work if I'm your agent, I'm going to work your butt off to get you in a better situation that's more agreeable. But for the time being, just be a good soldier and we'll get through this. That's my advice.
Before COVID, Coach, what were the immediate goals for Thailand and what were the long-term goals?
Well, immediate goals, it's just to win your leagues, for me anyway, win your leagues, and I'm sure management feel the same. I wanted to, I was the national team coach, and my goal was to get back to the gold medal game. So in the back of my mind, I had to work with players I thought were going to be on the national team and develop them even more to become better basketball players to get back to that gold medal game. I personally wanted some younger players to come to get more involved, to get developed for the future. But I'm a big believer in play to your strengths and work on your weaknesses. And I'm a big believer in having other players push players above them to become better because they want their spots, competition for jobs. So those are my goals, management goals. I'm sure we're along the same lines, I guess. Yeah, I haven't spoken, we haven't really talked since the day I've been home for about 3 months. So I really don't know. But that's not uncommon there in Thailand. We don't have much communication until something happens. It's not like they pick up the phone and say, hey, what's going on? It's never, ever been like that in 4 years. But in the meantime, as we talked about before, my contract, I had a contract when COVID hit. They bought out that contract. So now I'm contract free. So I just can't sit around and wait. SEA Games, I just talked to somebody in Vietnam. They're thinking end of May, early June.
Yeah.
Well, heck, that's 6 months. I don't want to sit around for 6 months. So if I can find, as I told you before, Vince, if somebody calls me, I'll go. If Thailand calls me, I'll go. Right now, I'm sitting here and I want to get back on the basketball court, and I want to winning championships and winning games is addicting. That's what I love to do. And that's what I want to get going again. I don't want to sit here anymore.
Okay, let me throw you a hypothetical question, Coach.
Okay.
So, for example, time management gives you the resources to get a naturalized import, or maybe a 7-footer who's a shot blocker. You get that guy, and then let's say you play the Gilas team for the gold in the SEA Games. This Gilas team right now, how would you prepare for them?
Well, they're a talented group. They play together. They have good chemistry, and they got a lot of confidence. But to be honest with you, when we do game film, and I've done this my whole entire life, I'm more worried about what my team does, the mistakes that we have to clean up, our defensive rotations and defensive transition. If we do the things that we're supposed to do, we can play with anybody. That's just not Thailand. That's just teams that I'm with, So when we do our film sessions, we don't necessarily watch the other team. We watch ourselves and point out bit by bit what we did wrong or what we can improve upon. That's the first thing. So it doesn't matter if my team, whatever team I'm coaching at the time, is playing Gilas or the Cleveland Cavaliers. We have to do what we have to do. And if your team is good in defensive transition, right, we're stopping easy buckets. If we're good in defensive transition, and if we're good on our inverting pick and roll defense, and we're containing our man, teams are going to have a hard time to score. Doesn't matter who it is, but we all have to be on the same page for that. So that's the way I've been approaching basketball for me for the last 30 years, is we have to do what we have to do. Now, granted, we do see film on the other team, but just to see some basic sets of kind of what they do, you know, I remember back when I was an assistant in the CBA, and the coach would take 30 to 40 minutes and write down all these player tendencies of the opposing team. Right shoulder, left shoulder, he goes here, he does this. And I've looked around and look at the player, they could care less. You know, they weren't interested in any of that stuff. And when I was in college recently, the coach that I was working for, he did the same thing. And I'm thinking to myself, I always thought, like, they don't care. We're sideline baseline. Doesn't matter if the offensive player is strong hand or weak hand, we're pushing them this way. Well, wait a second, this weak hand is this way. No, we're doing it this way. And we're going to rotate this way. And does a player push from left foot, right foot, this stuff? I just don't believe in all that. Make simple better. I believe that as well. Make simple better. Quit trying to muck it all up with all this. I don't know if it's an ego or this is what people think what you're supposed to do. I don't believe in all that stuff. Make simple better. And that's the way I approach every game. And the proof is in the pudding. But I stand alone on a lot of these points. And coaches have found success with the way they do things. That's great. I found success the way I do things. And that's the way I'm sticking with it.
Any of the present crop of coaches, young coaches, whether in the US or here in the Philippines or in Europe, do any of them remind of you when you started out?
Oh, I don't know. They're not as handsome as I am. That's for sure. Brian, that's a joke. He's not even laughing.
Sorry.
No, I don't know. You know, I don't know. I haven't really looked. I'll be honest, I watch PBA games. John Field sends me, I watch his games in Japan. You know, I just look at the style of play. I couldn't tell you who their coaches are, you know, but I try to focus on what are they doing? What's their style of play? How are they handling certain situations? You know, and things like that. I watch those types of games, but I focus on that. Is like, how can I do? What do they look for? So if I had to go coach in that league, I'm familiar with the systems of what their coaches are doing. You know what I'm saying? So my goal, you know, I have to prepare my teams for that style of play, prepare my teams for that. And so I'm more concerned about what they do throughout the flow of the game, but I couldn't tell you any coaches. I have no idea. All I know is they're working and I'm not. So that's
all right.
it. That sums it up.
Okay, let's go to Coach Asian basketball. Can you make a distinction of how each country, their type of basketball? So for example, Thai basketball to Japanese basketball to Philippine basketball. Can you make a distinction among the countries where you're familiar with?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Thailand basketball, it upsets me because they play zone all the time. We're just play zone. 1-2-2 zone, 2-3 zone, let's play zone, blah, blah, blah. No. And that would be a constant battle, you know, constant discussions, not a battle, but constant discussions with them. Like, stop playing. Tell your younger people in your kids' camps to stop playing zone and to learn to defend somebody. You know, that's my biggest contention there. And I know, you know, in their local leagues, they're going to be playing zone again. So we've gotten to a certain point, and now it's going to go back. You know, it's just like, you know, with the FIBA rankings, we moved up to 99, the highest ever in Thailand. You know, now it's back to 102, 106. You know, it just drops back. And then I watched John Fields' games, and I talked to John Fields in Japan, and they're really getting up and down the floor. Quick, fast. John's running the floor well. Not a lot of drag screening, but they're really getting up and on the floor. Korea, a lot of quick shots. a lot of quick shots in their games. Really, one dribble pass, shot, threes. When we played Korea, that actually helped to our advantage. We played them, not this last time, but the time before in Korea, we lost by 7. Thailand lost by 7. But a big part of that was they had no tempo of the game. They were just and they had a cold shooting night. Long shots, long rebounds. We were able to get up and down the floor really, really, really well. We were up at the half, but they didn't change their style of play. But Korea was like that. Philippines, people say all the time on Facebook or on the media posts, too much isolation basketball. We need this, we need that. No, I'm not necessarily in agreement with that. If you have a good isolation basketball player, you're going to let that player go and get your buckets. I think sometimes the games I see on the PBA, your weak side help is bad at times with some clubs that could be cleaned up. I see that. I see some great shooting. I see some good quickness. But I do think some of the nuances of some of just the defensive rotations should be cleaned up on some of those clubs. I'm not saying who or what, but just the games that I've seen. It's just been too many uncontested layups. A guy gets a quick screen and he's uncontested for layups with no secondary rotation from that. And some of those things need to be cleaned up or should be cleaned up for good pure basketball.
All right. Back to you, Brian.
I'm interested in what the coach just said about the PBA. Is there anybody now who you're impressed among the new breed?
About who I'm impressed with, what teams?
With any other player right now who really impressed you, aside from Junmar or whoever?
Oh, that Kobe Paris is a fantastic player.
Kobe? Really?
Kobe Paris? Yeah, I think he's a real good player.
You sure?
CJ, Brian. Probably CJ Perez.
Yeah.
CJ Perez.
From San Miguel.
Yeah, I think he's a fantastic player. I think he can really do some things. He immediately comes to mind. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head of some others, but I know he's always stood out for me. And in the second window, when he played for Gilas in the second window, he was fantastic. Fantastic. I think there was one game he was 6 for 6 from the field. Had a great game. And to be honest with you, I'm just trying to think there's a couple other guards, but Brian, I'm sorry, their names escape me. I wish I could fully answer. I wish I had my notes in front of me. I don't.
It's okay.
But I think with Gilas' team, I again think and that's where some of the PBA players can come on in and help Gilas. I think absolutely they would help. They would help a little bit, especially the bigs. But that Paris kid impresses me tremendously.
Okay. All right. Okay, Coach. Back to the NBA. There are two favorites, the Nets and the Lakers. Who are you picking?
Neither. Neither.
Okay, let me rephrase. Who are you picking?
You know what? Lakers are 0-3 in preseason. I understand it's preseason, and those guys aren't doing so well. But I think it's tough. They're going to have a tough time meshing together. Yeah. I really do think so. You have a lot of strong alpha males on that squad, and you really need a coaching staff that's really going to be able to blend those guys together. And we're going to be interesting to see what happens with that. Dallas, certainly, I mean, Luka's one of the best players in the world. And certainly he will get you wins just by himself, so fantastic to watch. The Nets, I think, are a mess. KD is arguably probably the best player in the NBA right now, if not the world, right? If not the world. But this Kyrie Irving thing and all this other type of stuff, and I'm not sure Nash, really is really overly working to get it all together. So all those people I'm not so sure. Denver Nuggets, I think, play such good defense. Pacers, I think, they just don't have enough. Philadelphia is going to be a mess, I think. I'm not a big Doc Rivers fan, to be honest with you. Celtics made a good choice of getting rid of Brad Stevens, because even though I'm wearing Celtics gear today, I don't think he had enough to get it done. Knicks, I think, will be greatly improved. You know, Tom Thibodeau is a fantastic coach. You know, he's not well liked by the media, you know, and he can be abrasive at times. When push comes to shove, he's a fantastic coach, and they're going to improve, and the players have bought in, and they're going to rotate, and they're going to do great things. Knicks are going to be big time spoilers, you know, under the radar type people. Bulls, I think, will have improved. So as far as your overall championship, Golden State is 3-0 in preseason, young man. So we're going to see how they go now that the Splash Brothers could be back.
Yeah.
So, and then certainly they have familiarity with themselves. So I guess my overall champion, I guess my early stages will be Golden State and I think Draymond Green's fantastic. You know, I think he's fantastic. I think Draymond Green could be a Hall of Fame player. I know people say no, but certainly I think he's fantastic. They might even play Draymond Green a little bit at the 5, minutes at the 5. That's what the NBA has come to now.
Yes.
So we'll see. But I'd have to say right now, if I sit here Golden State, it'll change. But I'm not a big fan of Lakers or the Nets.
Okay, so you're not a big fan. I'd love to hear this. What's your take on their aging roster, especially now that we already have one player who's out for 2 months, Trevor Ariza?
Yeah.
Is this something we're gonna see?
They only need players till playoff time, right? Everybody sits now. I posted on my Facebook page an article by John Stockton, who from Utah Jazz, who was mad about all these players taking time off. You know, so the second season is a playoff time, so they only need to really write it. It's really so fake. They just have to write out the regular season just to get to the playoffs, you know, and then start the second season. You know, it's kind of a shame that it's come to that, as far as a basketball fan is concerned. But really, I think the NBA is reaping this negativity. You know, the bubble was bad basketball, and fan viewership was down. I think viewership was down last year, except for the finals, where Giannis was fantastic. And I think people tuned in because of that. So we're going to be interested to see. I may have to go Milwaukee Bucks now too, because they have so many great role players that fit around their superstar. You know, they have a superstar that's humble, hardworking, you know, but they surrounded him with players that fit well with him, you know, and fulfill your roles. So I might have to say my secondary choice would be the Bucks as well, I think. You know, remember like the Bulls years, you know, you had Michael Jordan, and then you had all these players around him that didn't necessarily have to be, you know, superstars. You know, Dennis Rodman filled the role, Will Perdue filled the role, Derek Harper filled the role, Kerr filled the role, Paxson, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's kind of the same way it is with the Bucks, I think.
Oh, thanks, Coach Vince.
Coach, speaking of the Bulls, I read on online Scottie Pippen getting a little salty, saying that Kobe Bryant is better than Michael. What, you followed the team for many years. What's that about?
I don't know what Scottie Pippen's doing. I don't know. He's just trying to stay relevant in the news, I guess. I know he was trying to hawk a book. I know he's trying to push a book, but maybe he needs money. I don't know what it is. But I'm here to tell you. I used to go to Bulls games and watch the Bulls. There's nobody on this planet that is better than Michael Jordan. Nobody. Now, granted, Kobe Bryant's a fantastic player. You know, I'm not bad-mouthing Kobe Bryant, okay? He's a fantastic player. But he is nowhere near the player that Michael Jordan was in his prime. Could just do it all, you know, whatever he wanted to. Shoot threes, rebound, defend, clog up passing lanes, take people off the dribble, mid-range, three-point range, whatever. He could do what he wanted when he wanted against anybody. You know what I'm saying? And I'll be honest, Larry Bird's fantastic. Doesn't get enough credit. Larry Bird, all along the same lines. Granted, Michael Jordan's here, Larry Bird here, but Larry Bird certainly doesn't get the amount of credit. He could do what he wanted on the basketball court at any time. And he was like 6'10", 6'9"-ish, passing and stealing the basketball. Great. Both of them had great basketball IQ, and hardworking and humble. Just fantastic. There's nobody like that now. Nobody like that now. Nobody.
Would LeBron survive the Detroit Piston bad boys?
Oh, they would make it. He would have a hard time, wouldn't he? They'd put him on the ground every single time. Bill Laimbeer doesn't get the credit he deserves. But that team of Laimbeer, Vinny and Microwave, Isaiah, who I can't stand, was a great, John Sally, Rodman for a time. There was some tough players who left it all on the court. But Isaiah, yeah. When Isaiah bought the CBA, from the owners, he fired everybody. So that's why
Wow.
and he bankrupted the CBA. Yeah, so that's why I'm not a fan of Isaiah Thomas. Good basketball player, but
And he's from Chicago, right?
yeah, he made my life hard. Yeah, he did. I go back 30 years now. You guys only know me for a couple. I've been in this game of basketball for 30 years, all across the world. So, I have a lot of stories from a lot of different people. So
That's why you need to do a book.
Yes, Coach.
I'll tell you
30.
a story about Isaiah Thomas. You guys got a minute?
Sure. We got all night, Coach. We got all night.
Oh boy, I don't know about that, but I was assistant in the CBA. I was assistant in Rockford, okay? And the head coach left. My owner comes to me. I was just a young guy, I didn't know, and he says, you're going to be my head coach. I'm like, head coach of Rockford? This is crazy, right? I was so excited. Went out to dinner, so excited. The next day, it comes out in the press, Isaiah Thomas bought the CBA. Okay? So my owner was out because he bought the whole CBA. He was the owner of the league, Isaiah Thomas. He wanted to start his own developmental league. I go to the office. I'm like, what's going on? I go to the owner. He says, yeah, Isaiah Thomas bought the league. We'll see what happens. So then a memo came across on a speakerphone in the office, and Isaiah Thomas and a couple of other people all got on and said, yeah, we're the owners. We're really excited about what's going on. And all you coaches are now fired. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Just like that.
Just like that. What? I couldn't believe it. I was out of a job. Just like that, Isaiah Thomas. So I'm not a fan of him. Never talked to me, nothing. Never gave me an opportunity, nothing. So that was it. That's when I drove to Barrett College in Lake Forest and got the job at that NAI. And that's when I took them to the Final Four. And then when that ended, I'll tell you a funny story about that. We were at the national tournament for the Final Four, for the national tournament.
Right.
Little rinky-dinky little school. Never had a winning season ever in their lives. And we're at the national tournament, right?
Yes.
My owner in Rockford calls me up and he says, hey, Isaiah Thomas bankrupted the league. I'm the new owner again. I'm back. I want you to be my coach. Stacey King was the coach at the time. Okay, the former Chicago Bull.
Yeah, Stacey King. Yes.
He goes, I don't get along with him. I don't like him. I'm firing him.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh my God, this is fantastic. But I said, I'm at the national tournament. I said, we're going to play Columbia out of Missouri. First game, we're going to get beat. I mean, we're a rinky-dinky little school. Forget it. I said, I'll call you after this game. We'll make arrangements. I'm coming up. He says, great. Click. We beat Columbia. First game. Call the owner. I said, we beat Columbia. I can't believe it. I said, can't wait for another day. I said, we have Union out of Tennessee. They're the number 2 team in the country. I said, we're going down. I said, get my stuff ready, get the contract ready. I'm coming up there. We played Union, beat them in overtime. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this.
Good problem, Coach.
I know. I called my owner and I said, hey, we just beat Union, number 2 team in the country, my rinky dinky little team. He says, oh my God, what happens next? I said, we play a team out of California. We're gonna lose this game for sure. This big time program out of California. He's like, oh man, he says, I don't want Stacey King here, but we're getting into playoff time. I'll give it one more day. So I said, okay, let's see what happens. We beat Westminster out of California. I said, we're in the Final Four. I said, I can't believe it. He goes, just stay. I'll take care of Stacey at the end of the year. You'll be my coach for next year. And then we went to the Final Four and lost in overtime to a team out of Georgia. But that's kind of a funny little story about what happened there. And then when the season ended, we all went home, and then I took the job at the Rockford Lightning as head coach, where I was for 4 years. So it's kind of a funny little story.
That's 30 years of lots of pages in a book, Coach, for a book. That's a lot of years.
Well, I've been blessed with but I'll be honest with you, I'm a kind of a grinder type guy. I didn't come from, a lot of guys get their jobs because their dads were coaches. So they paved the way for them. I never had that, a lot of guys, they get, they were players, big time players. So they get jobs. I didn't have anything like that. So I've always been kind of, and like now I'm back at grinding it again. At my age, with my stuff, even though, like Brian, we won the silver medal. You would think people would be blowing up my phone. Thailand wins the silver. We haven't won the silver in 6 years. And it's never been done in the country of Thailand to win the silver in the men's and women's. Never done. I did it. You would think like, hey, he should be getting all these calls. Doesn't happen, So it's just been a grinder. It's just been a grinder type of career, just grinding it out. But I've been blessed with some great players, some players that I still talk to today that I hold near and dear to my heart. I've always been a guy that's got along well with ownership where I've lasted 4 or 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years. Never been a 1 year and out type guy. Never jumped ship to ship, I've always stayed, worked with players, and but that's the way it is. That's the situation that I'm in right now.
Any of your former players got into coaching?
I have a lot of players that are doing like that individual skill work, and running camps and things like that. But nobody. I have a couple players actually that have gone on to coaching different things, whether it be assistants or whether it be heads or whether they're in the NBA. A couple former players of mine are in the NBA. But the sad thing is they're not really in position to hire, and that's where timing comes into play. Like I had a very good player of mine. He was director of player personnel for the Knicks. And I would go to Knicks practices and I would be hanging around the Knicks all the time. And I'd be on the phone with him, but he's not in position to hire. So he's not with the Knicks anymore. He's with the Pistons now, but he's not in a position to hire. We go down to Vegas. I see him in Vegas. We hug, we watch a game, but that's kind of where it ends. He's just not in that position. So, and I have a lot of players that are like that throughout the league, but it is what it is. And I'm not a guy too. Some of these guys, they call and they call and they call and they call begging for jobs. I don't do that. If you want to call me. Like I told you, Vince, my phone's on. People can call. They want to win games. They want to have stability. They want to develop players. They can call me. But I'm not begging for people to call me for do all that. Screw that. I'm not doing it.
Coach, you mentioned Bill Belichick. Do you follow American football?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Bill Belichick, fantastic. Yes, I just watched the game the other day versus Tampa Bay. Yeah, because Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yes, he is. And what do you think of the Bears' rookie quarterback?
I think the Bears will ruin him just like they ruined Mitch Trubisky, and just like they've done poorly. I think it's just a poor coaching staff. Mitch Trubisky came in with the Buffalo Bills in that preseason game and threw for like 400 yards. So come on, I'm not a fan. This quarterback they had to bring in Nick Foles, and then they had to bring in, the next guy, and now they have Fields, and is Fields a starter?
Justin
No, he's
Fields.
not. I don't see a lot of player development. I'm just not a big fan. But I do admire the greatness of watching some of these players like Dak Prescott play, fantastic. Yes. Tom Brady play, because you talk about as you get older, and you talk about young kids, I always try to watch because I'm like, I saw Tom Brady throw, just like some people say, I saw Johnny Unitas, I never saw Johnny Unitas, but I can say I watched Tom Brady, and we can maybe bond with my grandkids or something at some point, like I watched these players play.
You mentioned Dak Prescott. He's coming off an injury. Probably if it happened to a lesser guy would have been career ending, but this guy worked his tail off to come in healthy this season.
Well, I got to tell you, I told this to Brian a couple months ago when we used to talk when I was in Thailand. Champions, they're few. People that have championship heart, and championship work ethic, there are few. There's a lot of players, but there's only few that really are head and shoulders above everybody else. And once you find those types of players or coaches or anybody like that has that burning desire to do whatever it takes to win and become a championship, it's addicting. It's in your blood. It's addicting. And there's a lot of good players. There's a lot of great players, but there's only a select few that have that special quality, the Jordan-esque quality, the Tom Brady quality to be winners, champions, and that's what it really is a joy to see, and you have it in every sport. So that for me, I really enjoy that, and I'm jealous of that. I'm envious of that because those players have it, and there's a lot of people that don't.
Who do you like this year?
Oh, for the NFL?
Yes.
You know what? I can't believe it. They're on ESPN. They're ripping on Baker Mayfield. I can't believe it. The guy's 3-1 with Cleveland, and they're ripping on him. I'm like, so phony. ESPN is so phony. They're just arguing just to argue, to take up airtime. So phony. You know what I'm saying? But Tampa Bay brought back all their people from their Super Bowl. Think about that continuity. So you have to look at Tampa Bay again, even though they lost. Kansas City will get together because Patrick Mahomes is fantastic.
Yes.
And he really messes with their coaching staff. Now take an example. They talked about Mitch Trubisky and Patrick Mahomes, drafted. But if I swear you can never tell, but if you put Mahomes on this Bears staff, he'd be a bum. But if you put Trubisky, with the Kansas City staff, he might have had some success. I firmly believe that. But you have to look at your odds-on favorites as being Tampa Bay again. I mean, they got the greatest player in the history of the world, Tom Brady. Fantastic.
All right, Coach, we have a few minutes left. My last question for you is, like you said, you've been around the game for 30 years. Are you still learning?
Oh, yes, very much so. Absolutely. It's always an open book. You cannot go into anything thinking that you know everything. I love to go to people's practices and watch and see. I love to watch other games to see what they do. I love to talk to players and even coaches to see what they think about things and how they do things. Absolutely. You have to constantly be open-minded and get knowledge poured into your cup of a head. You know what I'm saying? You can always do stuff better. You can always learn more things. There's always more tricks to the trade. Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to constantly be understanding that you don't know everything. And if you think you do, somebody's going to knock you down in the dirt. So you have to stay ahead of those people. You have to be hungry for that knowledge. Always. You have to be accessible to those people. You can't just sit around and do. You can't. Absolutely wrong.
All right, Coach. Your final words, if there's anything you want to promote for our viewers.
I just want to say thank you. No, there's nothing to promote. I just want to say thank you that you actually gave me a call to say come on in and spend some time with you, spend some time with Brian, and spend some time with the people that are listening. For me, that's fantastic. So I just want to say thank you for that. It means a lot that people actually call or send you a message, say, hey, we'd like to talk to you. Holy mackerel, great, let's talk. And I'm sorry for being long-winded on my answers, but I just want to say, for me, this is fantastic. Made my day. So thank you.
You know, I'll keep it in mind, Coach, to get you a better photo, get you a better picture.
I told him,
Maybe
Brian, show a picture of me being more handsome.
Why is it that handsome?
I said, get a handsome picture of me. You know, for the ladies there in the Philippines, you know what I'm saying? Show a handsome picture. And that's the one I'm looking like that in the camera. Hey, Chris Daleo. You know, come on, man.
Next time, Coach.
Come on.
There'll be many next times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or at least holding a trophy so they say the guy's a winner, you know, instead. You know, come on.
All right. Brian?
Yeah, well, thank you, Vince. Thank you, Coach. It was so nice talking. And thank you for being nice to me tonight.
We'll talk later.
That's what I'm afraid of.
I'll send you messages later.
All
I
right.
told him when he does when he had the actress from Nacho Libre on, he should do it shirtless. Show off his massive body and maybe might impress her for a date.
She might hang up.
I don't think that went over
She might,
well.
she might do a sequel with you, Brian. Nacho Libre too.
Yes.
I wish. Well, that's happening on October 15th. I'll keep you guys posted.
A Nacho Libre 2, quote unquote, a love story.
Coach, you might be surprised. One of these days, she becomes a co-host.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, let's have a part 2 then.
Oh yeah.
I'll bring the toast. Remember, she had to eat toast with
Yep.
Jack Black. Yeah, that's funny. Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep you guys posted.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Coach.
Bye-bye now. Thank you very much.
All right, Coach. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Coach. Keep in
Hello,
touch.
Philippines. Hello.
Keep safe, Coach. Stay safe.
All righty. Bye-bye now.
Bye, Coach.
All right. And that ends another episode of Sports for All. Next Saturday, or maybe Friday, we're going to have the 2020 bronze medalist from Canada, Hailey Daniels, as our guest. And it's going to be as equally interesting, if not more interesting, than past episodes, or nothing as interesting as this episode with Coach Chris Daleo. So long, everybody.